So here's a story of David Ballard from Naughty Dog fame. And this is a story of him being apparently sexually harassed by one of the employees there and the story therein. This is probably during the Me Too era, so 2016, 2017, or was that 2 years ago? I can't recall. But he decided to come out after all this time. This was years ago, so it's not new news, but some people may not be aware of it. So here's his story. Late 2015, I was sexually harassed by Naughty Dog lead. My work environment became extremely toxic afterward. February 2016, I had a mental breakdown, and work at Sony PlayStation HR became involved. When I told them about the harassment, they ended the call and fired me the next day. They cited the company was moving in a different direction and my job was no longer needed. Interesting. So makes a complaint to HR, gets fired, and then they come back, say they tried to silence me by offering 20 grand if I sign a letter agreeing to termination, as well as to not discuss it with anyone. Now that's a bit strange, because if they fire you, they fire you. You don't need to agree to anything. So this is purely about whether they offered him a bribe of some sort, so he doesn't talk about it with anyone. A legal thing, of course. I declined to sign. I have been unemployed for 17 months since. When interviewers ask why I left Naughty Dog, I say I was burned out by the crunch, ashamed to get into the root of the problem of being sexually harassed. I'm speaking out now because of the strength I've seen in others coming forward with their experiences in the TV film industry. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I will not let anyone kill my drive or love for video game industry or my passions for life. Cool. Okay, so yeah, this is a touchy subject if this is the case. And there's really no reason for anyone to go around bashing an old job, especially when you're accusing people of sexual harassment, because that can get you into big hot water. You can't just go around throwing down names. Now, he hasn't actually said anything back in 2017 of who did what. It is interesting how they said he was being offered 20 grand to keep silent. And it sounds as if they were aware of something, and this is a simple way. It wasn't a huge deal, but they knew it was a deal. It was something that happened. And he decided not to talk about it. Now, what was interesting here to me is the 17 months since. So that's over a year of not working on something. And he's talking about 2006, 2015 to 2016. So let's just go back to 2015. So he was working at Naughty Dog in 2015, 2016, and then he got a job at Turbo Button. And he worked there for a few months. So, yeah, that seems to line up with 2016 and 2017. And now that he finally got a gig, October, November, yeah, so he's probably talking about waiting after all this time, now that he's at least has a job, that something happened between those years, nothing happened between those years of 2016 and 2017. So I think that's what he's referring to. Now, this was reported October 14th. Naughty Dog had a response October 15th and says, we have recently read on social media that an ex-employee of Naughty Dog claims he was sexually harassed. We have not found any evidence of having received allegations from Mr. Ballard that he was harassed in any way at Naughty Dog. And you wouldn't, because it would have been spoken, word of mouth, and that would be that. You would have to then somehow pull out some document that was never signed, that was just either never printed out and was ultimately removed, either from their email server or however it was communicated, of signing $20,000 or anything like that. So, yeah, you're not going to find a paper trail. There's nothing there. This is all word of mouth. People are too embarrassed to talk about it. This happens a lot. Now, whether it's true or not, it can be proven in court is another story. Anyway, that was 2017. Now we're a year later, 2018, and here's David Ballard again. It's been 2.5 years since I was sexually harassed at Naughty Dog by a lead, and 2 years and 2 months since I told Sony PlayStation HR that I was sexually harassed and then promptly fired. I still don't feel like I have the dignity or respect because of it. Okay, so he still feels bad. This has been a bad experience for him. It's coming out again. If Sony PlayStation came out and said, yes, He's telling the truth. I'd be so relieved and happy. Great. So there's more parties involved. There's Naughty Dog and there's Sony PlayStation. So I'm not sure how that works. Maybe they have different departments. Maybe they're co-owned and there's people from one organization working at the offices of Naughty Dog or what have you. Anyway, so here's what he says. Okay, do I need to name the harasser to get justice? This is all within one day, I believe. So May the 7th, 2:42 p.m. May the 7th, 3:22 p.m. May the 7th, 3:29. Then he waits 3 days and comes up with these names. So thank you. His name is Robert Cogburn, former Naughty Dog co-president. Christophe Balestra accused me of wanting to fire Robert when I told him I couldn't work with him anymore. HR was present, and it was Sony PlayStation HR Heather Zavadil who I told about the harassment. So this is kind of important. Once you start naming names, you can now be accused of a defamation libel lawsuit for saying stuff like this. This is kind of dangerous. This is, I think, criminal court because you're accusing someone of a crime. Now, if you're saying the truth, obviously there's no libel. But these are very difficult to prove. It's he said, she said, and you have no physical evidence. This is the problem with these sort of sexual harassment lawsuits. It's like, well, did this guy actually do this? Did this woman actually do this? Where's your evidence? How do you have proof? Et cetera, et cetera. All you would really have is a paper trail of you talking to HR saying, hey, or emailing HR saying, hey, this is what happened. I'm filing a complaint. And that would be it. And if there is no actual investigation done, then it amounts to nothing. You can't prove anything in court. So trying to mention anything to Robert Cogburn about that gets you blocked on Twitter. I'm sure I'll be very similar to the other people involved asking questions. But this is as far as this story goes. So there's really not much else to this story. Obviously, we hope it's not true. Hopefully, this never happened and David was confused. But who's to know what really happened? All these stories occur, and we don't know what exactly happened, sadly. But that's one of the many histories of Naughty Dog. I'm going to keep looking out for more. There's lots of them, I'm sure. But thanks for listening, guys, and have yourself a good day.